Greetings everyone, it's Ron Vaillant. I'm reposting part of an interview I had while running for the PPC in the federal election. The reason I'm doing so is there's some pretty important quotes in this interview that I'd like you to be able to get. I'm going to include them in the description area, so I highly encourage you to copy and paste them and grab them while they're still available. The interview was done with Prince George Matters, and Kyle Balzer is the interviewer, and I believe it was Jessica Fedigan who was manning the camera. I also went in and talked about caribou recovery and UNDRIP as well. Very important issues that we're facing now as we see all the blockades going across Canada and we wonder what's going on. Well, it's all related. So go ahead and check that out. One thing you'll notice is that the person behind the camera was not quite liking what I was sharing, the red pilling I was doing. And you can hear some foot tapping telling Kyle to move it along. I'll post below here some of the places where you can hear that. You might need some headphones to do that. But anyhow, it's fairly interesting. But okay, so check it out and hope you have a good week. Thanks.
So I guess the question we want to know is, why does the People's Party say that climate change isn't a real issue, even though it's scientifically proven?
No, we say that climate change is happening. It's just that whether it's man-generated CO2 is causing the climate emergency that's been declared, and we reject that. And so there's many things to look at. I mean, okay, for instance, they talk about in the last 100 years there's been an increase in temperature, 1.5 degrees or whatever it is. Now, you have to make the assumption that the sun is perfectly linear in its output, and then you can derive that you have a 1.5 degree increase or whatever it is. But you can't do that. You can't say that the sun, the fact that the sun only would vary 1 degree over 100 years is absolutely stunning. Because the last time I checked, there's no thermostat on the sun. So right there, the whole premise. And then the thing to ask, okay, this is one thing I learned a long time ago with politicians and these kind of things, is you can't believe what they say. You have to go by what they do and their actions, right? Okay, so you go and see Trudeau flying around with two like 737 jets. And he's going on saying that we all have to go ride bicycles or whatever, You got Al Gore doing the same thing. He lives in a mansion that uses 10 times electricity than a normal, person, and who knows how many other houses he gets. Not only all his investments in the carbon capture businesses and all these kinds of things, and David Suzuki and all these guys. I mean, are they actually really living, Elizabeth May, she gets on the same jet with Bob Zimmer. They're flying back and forth all the time. Come on. So, I mean, a real leader is going to actually, if they really believe that it's a dire emergency, they're going to go and live it. So I call BS on it myself. But there was actually a bunch of leaked emails. Go investigate ClimateGate, I would say. There's also 31,000 scientists who don't agree with climate change. So it's not 97% consensus.
Where does that 31,000 come from, if I may ask, Ron?
You can go look it up on the internet. I don't have it in front of me, but
okay.
But basically, go investigate that 97% consensus. There's documentaries on that. It's only on a small group of people that's 97% consensus. It's not everywhere, and it's been touted as it's all the scientists in the world, but it's not. Then also, Inconvenient Truth, when Al Gore had that chart that was going to go right off of his screen, and he had to go higher with it or whatever. That Michael Mann at Penn State University, who created that chart, and it's been touted and pushed everywhere. And so Tim Ball, he's a climatologist over in Manitoba, okay, and he actually tweeted 8 years ago that Michael Mann shouldn't be in the Penn State University, but he should be in the state pen for his fraudulent graph, right? So then Michael Mann goes and sues him. It's been going on for 8 years, and now finally Michael Mann has lost his court case. And the reason he lost is because he wasn't willing to subject his math for his hockey stick chart to the court. So what's with that? But here, I'll read you some quotes, okay, real quick. Isn't the only hope for the planet that the industrialized civilization collapse? Isn't it our responsibility to bring that about? That's Maurice Strong, the founder of the UN Environmental Program. Current lifestyles and consumption patterns are of the affluent middle class, involving high meat intake, use of fossil fuels, appliances, air conditioning, and suburban housing are not sustainable. Again, Maurice Strong. In searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill. Club of Rome, first global revolution. I'll just read a few more here. We have to, okay, I think this is one of the leaked emails, this one. We need to get some broad-based support to capture the public's imagination so that we have to offer up scary scenarios, make simplified dramatic statements, and make little mention of any doubts. Each of us has to decide what the right balance is between being effective and being honest. That's Stefan Schneider, Stanford professor of climatology, lead author of many IPCC reports. And I'll just do one more here. Okay, the only way to get our society to truly change is to frighten people with the possibility of a catastrophe. Emeritus Professor Daniel Boken. So I would say, and I've done my research, go and look at other contrarian views on the topic, right? And just don't believe the rhetoric.
You visited a number of those communities. Have you talked to anybody who has been laid off from the forestry industry? Have you talked to any forestry workers? What stories have you been hearing from these?
Well, I mean, they're just being decimated. Mackenzie, they just got 400 people laid off, right? And yeah, they're very concerned. But it's not just that issue. Is another big issue is the whole thing with caribou recovery. Have you heard of it?
Of course.
Okay, caribou recovery. I mean, so this is from the federal government. And there's an agreement, right? There's an agreement between the federal government, the BC government, West Moberly, and the Saulteaux Aboriginal bands in having over 1 million acres of land, and it could be 3 times that from what people have been telling me, in order to preserve a few thousand caribou, right? That's a huge, vast amount of, all the way down to McBride even, So the whole premise is that you have to protect the caribou habitat to protect the species, to regrow the species or whatever. And it actually, within that agreement, it says to bring it up to numbers for ancestral Aboriginal harvesting activities. So what does that have to do with preserving caribou? They threw that in there. And actually, within there, they talk about, okay, I don't know if I'm going to jump that far ahead yet. So anyhow, the thing is that they're not talking about the real issues that kill caribou. Like the guys in Mackenzie were saying, when the caribou cross back and forth over the lake, they've seen 60 drop dead because one will fall in, the ice will break, and they'll fall in, and they're like sheep, they just keep on falling in. They also say that the herd is inbred. They're not really migrating and going with other herds. Maybe it's, for those guys who are into Darwinism, maybe this is just a culling, because there are inbred, But anyhow, that's not, there's a wolf population. I mean, the farmers around here, I mean, they're losing all kinds of animals, the livestock, to wolves. The wolves have to be culled, simple as that. And the wolf population is going after the caribou. You got the hunters. I talked to a guy in Mackenzie, he says that we're not allowed to hunt grizzly bear, and the grizzly bears are going after the caribou. So, and really for the habitat, it makes no sense. If you're going to go ahead and drill a well, it's not going to kill a caribou. The caribou will just move away. And the caribou are only in certain small sections. They're not over 1 million acres. So it's just really a land grab is what it is. And it's very interesting that in that agreement, if I can just pull it up here real quick, it says something that's really bizarre, because I mean, what does this have to do actually with preserving caribou? And it actually goes into a far greater issue. And I'll just read it to you here real quick. Okay, whereas British Columbia and Canada are committed to fully adopting and implementing the United Nations Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and the calls to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada. Okay, so in UNDRIP, I was given this. This is UNDRIP right here. And I'll tell you something that Article 26, and I'll be finished.
We'll try to keep this moving along.
Yeah, I will. Indigenous peoples have the rights to the lands, territories, and resources for which they have traditionally owned, occupied, or otherwise used. Okay? So it's very open-ended. And anyhow, I made a video on this. It's on my YouTube channel. I recommend everyone go and see it. Go and search Ron Vaillant, or you can go PPC and then a space and Ron V. It's absolutely critical that everyone watches this video, and watch Agenda 21 video also.
I don't know.
You also said in your questionnaire, Ron, if I may, that you haven't had a TV for 35 years.
I what?
You said you haven't had it owned a TV in 35 years.
Well, there was one time that I did have a TV during that time. It actually during 9/11, my buddy phones me up and says, "Hey man, you got to look at this thing on the TV." And my fuzzy screen, I could see the Twin Towers.
Well, did you even watch your party leader Maxine Bernier was on TV on Monday in the All Leaders debate? Did you get a chance to watch that even?
Yeah, that's on my phone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And what are your general thoughts on social media altogether? If you're very kind of limited to it, if I may say.
I'm not limited at all. I'm very connected. I mean, I just don't watch TV. You know, I have to sit down and watch TV. I'd go and see TV actually when I go to my mom's house and visit my parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd see it there and I'd see different things that are going on. But as far as owning one, no, I mean, there's so many other things to do, right? And no, I mean, you got the internet now. You got
Mm-hmm.
everything at your fingers. If you want to see something like the debate, you know, it's still on my phone. I watched part of it. I didn't go all the way through because I've been too busy, you know. But yeah.
So I guess let's lead into the question then. If you watch Maxime Bernier on the debate, I guess
Yeah.
what do you think was his biggest strength or weakness even on the debate?
Well, the fact that he was even there, that was the biggest thing, because when we first were going 6 months ago, the criteria was that you had to have 90% candidates in the ridings. So out of 338 ridings, you had to have 304 candidates. So we went and surpassed that. We got 315 candidates now. But then there's a new rules that were made, and basically kind of to exclude us. The same thing happened in Alberta during the Alberta election. They did the same thing with that party. I'm trying to think of what it is. But yeah, there was new rules made that excluded, you know, a person, and yeah, so it's not very fair. It's kind of a big filter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, filter out.
So, well, we understand. We know you have a long trip ahead of you, so we won't keep you for too long. If we can leave you with just one question, Ron, why should people vote for you in Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies?
Well, the whole thing is that I mean, I'm the only person who's talking about the caribou recovery. That's going to decimate the small towns. I talked to a PPC candidate over in Quebec, and there's 9,000 jobs going to be lost there on account of that, and just going to decimate those towns over there. So, you know, if you want to be able to save your backcountry and have access to it, if you want to be able to save your small towns, if you don't want UNDRIP to go through, then, you know, People's Party of Canada. I mean, I'm the only one doing it, probably in Canada even, who put up a video on the topic. So, I mean, sticking my neck out there for that.
And why don't you let people know where you're off to next? Maybe people want to come see you.
Well, we're going to be taking off over to Fort St. John right away today.
Should be a beautiful drive for you. The sun's out.
Oh,
and
yeah, but it's long.
Hopefully you got winter tires on your car still,
Yeah.
because obviously you don't want any slippery roads. Ron, we really appreciate you taking your time with
All
us
right,
this
I
morning.
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
That's Ron Vaillant. He's the People's Party Canada candidate for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies. This is Kyle Balzer signing off for PrinceGeorgeMatters.com.
Vote PP.